Okay, so for those of you that don't know Lori Spagna, she is a bestseller author. You're going to find her books. You're going to find a lot of information. She's an animal communicator, and I know that it's a lot of people that have talents, but she is naturally gifted, not only in animal communication, is also gifted in healing. You're going to benefit so much today that I know that after you get to meet her and know her story and how she does and feel what she does, that you're going to be following her like I've been for the last 4 years. Typically not, usually to find her and to get time with her, you have to wait because that's how much people love her and want to be with her techniques. So take advantage that she's going to be here today, tomorrow, next week she's going to be in Tulsa. And she is doing this by love offering, which it blew my mind that she's doing that, but really that's Lori. She likes to give a lot. So next time we're going to talk about other things. But welcome, Lori. Thank you so much for coming.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Oh, you look so beautiful. I see so many wonderful faces. Some of you I've seen the other night, so thank you so much for being here. And thanks to Radiant Living Center for hosting. It's a beautiful center. So I'm really excited about our time today. So who in the room does not know me? Who's brand new to me? Okay, so just a few of you. So for the people who are brand new, I'll give you the short version of my story so you can know, yeah? So, and then what we'll do today, besides me giving you the short version, is I'll talk to you about what animal communication and telepathy is. Obviously, we're all animal lovers, yeah? I'll tell you kind of what it is and how it works. And then we're also going to be talking about energy as it relates to animals and ourselves. And then we'll kind of dovetail into the energy healing aspect of it, right? Because it's communication, telepathy, and healing with our animals. And then we'll talk about the animal consciousness as a collective, animals in the afterlife as well. Anyone have animals who have crossed over? That's a big thing, yeah. And then if we have some time, we'll do a little, if we do at the end, a little meditation to connect, to learn a little bit about it. But it's mostly instructional, yeah? And then just to kind of give you also, just before we get underway, tomorrow is a separate, totally separate topic, which some of you who know me have experienced a little bit of, and that's more ascension related, energy healing, the shift of consciousness, which is happening planetarily. So they're two totally separate topics.
I thought that the announcement is separate. I thought that was to be today and the animal communication was tomorrow.
so sorry.
But we don't mind.
That's what I thought.
Did I get it? It's okay, I can switch back. When we were in the car, I asked which one is it? I don't know. I don't
The way
know.
I advertised it was today was more the Ascension.
Is that what everybody's under the agreement of? Okay, so tomorrow's animals.
Yeah.
I would be down with animals.
I would too.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to do what we announced, I think that's right. I just, when I was driving in the car, I just, what are we doing? And I don't know, I never know.
Maybe we do a little.
I just show up and
Sorry.
do my service.
My mistake.
That's the way I advertised.
Okay,
So sorry.
so tonight's Ascension.
Yes.
I thought it was initially, and then when we were in the car, I guess we got our communication crossed, so that's okay, so it's all good, so then let me rephrase. Okay, so tonight, or today, that's different than what we're gonna cover. You kind of heard what we'll be doing tomorrow with animals, it's totally separate. So today is Ascension, the shift, energy healing, and there will be a meditation with a lot of healing, yeah? And we'll talk about what's going on globally, so that's totally different. Sorry for the confusion. So then I'm going to give you my background for people who are new, and I'm sorry for the people who have heard it again, but it's relevant, it's significant, because you need to know where this is coming from. It's not like, you know, it's important. So I just say, I'm like your regular everyday human who grew up in corporate America, out of college, went into corporate America and got on the hamster wheel of life. And out of college, debt-free, healthy college kid just going into corporate America. And the moment I spent my first week in business, I remember thinking, if this is life, it's not worth living. like, I don't want this. But it took me another 20 years before I finally got off that hamster wheel. And it took the death of my brother to basically wake me up. Because when he died of an unexpected drug overdose, it's all good because I'm like aligned with source on this topic area of death. So there's no, for me, it's no grief. I understand that the role of my brother was to trigger me to awaken to my true divine mission, and that his death ultimately served 7.5 billion people, plus all of life on planet Earth, Mother Earth, and the astral realms of all consciousness, of all of existence. His death served the collective beyond infinity, like infinity and beyond. So there's a higher purpose. So there's no grief left for that, and I have a greater relationship with my brother. But thank you for your sweet, kind
I just lost a brother.
compassion. Yes, and when you see from the higher perspective of how death serves, and when you understand death, we can talk about this more. It's really. But in any case, okay. So when he died, I started getting messages from him that were very clear. And initially, I thought like I was crazy. But I just kept kind of like testing them, not from the skeptical mind, but more from the inquisitor mind, like trying to really understand, like, am I really hearing that? Am I really seeing that? Is that really Jeff? Is that really his voice? Did that really happen from Jeff? And through my inquiry, I got validation after validation after validation. And the message overall was like, you're gonna help me, because I can't get out of it. And I'm gonna help you to get out of where you're stuck. And ultimately, I quit my job, making 6 figures, on that hamster wheel. And I had this mantra for those 20 years, was that I wanted to be of service to animals on a global scale. I didn't really know what that meant. I thought it was like I was going to be a dog trainer, so I quit my job to become a dog trainer. And the other mantra was that I wanted God to be my boss, because I was always really spiritually inclined. I just didn't have any idea what any of that meant. So I did quit my job, and I did become a dog trainer. And I was hired by a gentleman who spent 20 years serving animals for the United States government as a service dog trainer in the military. When his tour was up, he hired me, and I worked for him for a year. While he trained me, I got very good at going into the neutral no-think zone. And in that zone, I could hear the animals. And they would tell me that I had to listen to them, and that they were going to teach me. So that's what I did. I started just listening. I got really good at listening. And also with Jeff communicating with me, I got really good at seeing, because I learned that I had to close my eyes to see things that he was showing me. And I also had other angels start to come in, and they would show me things. So I got really good at clairvoyance, and I got really good at clairaudience, And then what happened after that was that after the year of training, I started to get happy. And so I was married at the time, and my then husband said he didn't sign up for this, He just wanted out. So I moved to Maui, and while I was living in Maui, I started practicing and training a lot of esoteric practices and energy healing and moving tables with my mind, flipping tables and group processes. Come on in, we just started group activations and group healings and all kinds of group intensive things where I was just learning through practice. And I had some master teachers who helped me learn how to transcend the physical experience, leave my body, not from astral travel. Are you guys familiar with astral travel? That's not what it was. It was the complete dissolution of all physicality. And then I would meditate every night, throughout the night, and I had what's called an induction experience. Does everyone know what that means? Heard the word abduction experience? To me, an abduction is when someone takes you without your consent, without your knowledge, or without your conscious consent, and it's typically they're using you for their good. This is why you've heard those abduction experiences that are very malevolent, people are traumatized. Wasn't that an induction is where I'm restored to be reunited with a version of myself from the future, kind of like my own star family? Extraterrestrial, you could call them, but they call themselves star family. And where that version of me was braided into the version I was, united, come together, so that my future self met my past self. This is what we call it, I'm Starseed, essentially, seated here on Earth as a regular human, to be reunited with my own higher version of myself, braided into one, reunited, right? And we all have these aspects of ourselves. But in any case, in Maui, that's what happened. And then for months after that, I would get these downloads and activations, and I didn't know what any of it was. And I kept asking, what is this, what is this? And I always got, you'll know when the time comes. And then eventually it was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I know. So that's what I'm here for now. That's my mission, is to assist humanity in the awakening process, and also to be a spokesperson for the animal kingdom in their service, you know, and help everyone else awaken to our true potential and reunite. And there's some healing going on just from that story. I can feel that there's some hearts touched. So that's what I'm doing. So after those 2 years, I'll just finish the story off with this, is that my beloved animal companion, Kenya, she was my most beloved, you know, I called her my dogster. She crossed over. And when that happened, I was done. I lost everything. Like prior to Maui, I had $150,000 in debt, but that was gone. I was practicing forgiveness, transcendence. The banks were writing me letters, we forgive your debt. Your debt's forgiven. I was 65 pounds heavier at that time. I lost the weight. I was eating unhealthy, drinking 6 beers a day, smoked prior to Maui, smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. I had, you know, pharmaceutical drugs, like massive doses of cocktails. All of that stuff by the end of Maui was done. But of course with Kenya's death, it was like, that was the trigger that said, I can't handle anymore. I'm on my knees. Now the new life begins. So I went back to the States, and that's really where my business really started. My business, my work, my service, my mission, however you call it. And that's what we're gonna be doing today. What came out of that is what we'll be sharing today. That's my story. And sometimes people say I should do it faster, but I always feel like if you don't know who I am and where all of this is coming from, then I'm just another person standing up here giving you something that may or may not help you, right? Make sense? All right, so let's talk about this shift that's happening globally. So, and then, you know, the first part of it that will be talk, and then the second, we'll take a small break in between, and then we'll do the healing, yeah? And I'll keep my eye mostly on the clock as best as I can. So, what is Ascension? Who knows what Ascension is? Let's talk about that. Do you want to share what your perspective is on it?
Ascension is when you realize your higher self and you rise to the higher level of consciousness and thinking and acting.
Yeah, that is true. That's true. Does anyone else want to share your perspective?
More of an awakening, because we've forgotten the truth of who we are.
Yes.
And so it's just awakening that we are an extension of source energy
Yes.
and reconnecting with that.
Absolutely. Both are true. Both. Anyone else want to share your perspective?
You love the planet.
Yeah, that's true too.
What'd you say? The planet.
So the way I see it is all of humanity right now, everyone on planet Earth is being given an opportunity. And this opportunity is to remember and to reunite with our own higher self, our higher consciousness, to know that we're aspects of the divine embodied, and to reclaim all the gifts of the divine as ours, and to work with those gifts and tools. And through the remembering, we are remembering, and it's happening planetarily. Not just for humans, but for all animals, all plants, all minerals, all of Mother Earth as a conscious living being known as Mother Earth, the planetary body. And this is happening not only globally, but also through our entire solar system, our entire galaxy, our entire universe, and our entire dimension of reality that the dimensions of reality in which we exist, and beyond, ultra-dimensional, omnidirectional, like throughout all time and space actually. It's just that it's happening at this point in linear time. So this point in linear time isn't even one moment in a sense, because it's actually sort of started in the 60s, And it was meant really essentially to culminate in 2012. So that's the linear time, but it's still actually culminated. And so this ascension process, it's a process where all of this is going on. And this process where it's so unique, we could all define it differently because it's our unique experience, and yet it's happening for all of us. And it's happening culturally, our culture's changing. It's happening societally, our whole societies are changing. It's happening globally, our planet is changing. We're seeing weather pattern changes geographically. You know, one country is suddenly not a country, it's renamed into a new country, or it's broken apart into different. It's happening politically, all of our politics are changing. You know, we have, what is it, you know, we're seeing it across all, there is no limitation of how it's transcending and transforming. We're seeing it economically, our economy is changing. Suddenly we've got things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Where did that come from? And old systems are collapsing, new systems are being rebirthed. There's nowhere that this is not being affected. So I think I covered like all aspects of our reality are being shifted and changed. And essentially this ascension process is asking us to rebirth ourselves, to renew ourselves as something new. And it's asking us to make a pivotal change in everything we do, perceive, everything we do, every way we act and behave, everything about us has to change. And if it doesn't change, this is the pivotal thing. We're at a choice moment, and the moment has been many years, and it is coming kind of to a little bit of a closure, this choice moment, where if you don't choose to change, you get what we call bifurcated, separated, so to speak, where you get to repeat it all over again, mostly the same. And that's a choice, and that means you haven't chosen to choose this ascension timeline. You get bifurcated to repeat everything again over, recycle until you're ready at another choice point, whatever that is, I don't know. But that bifurcation becomes essentially, we're not aware of that because we're all choosing this awakening. And everyone else gets to choose it too. It's almost like that becomes invisible to us. So we can talk about that later. But does this make sense? And the thing to understand about Ascension is, again, it's so unique to us. We so uniquely get to choose how we experience it that I'm just offering you my perspective to share and to support you in your journey, so you get to take whatever serves you, make it work for you, and you kind of can leave what doesn't serve you. It's all discernment. We get to choose our discernment. So, okay, so that makes sense, right? And then I want to talk a little bit about the 60s, but Ascension is not a permanent choice. In other words, it's permanent, that you're permanently forever changed and transmuted through your choices, the actions, the behaviors, and the energetic shifts that you make, the consciousness shifts, and those continue to propel you into further states of consciousness. But ultimately, Ascension is a temporary experience in that you rebirth yourself, renew yourself as to someone new. You get to redefine yourself, right? We all do. We get to say, that's not who I was anymore, now this is who I am. And you have a memory, but no attachment to it. It's like that all becomes neutral, just a neutral story that you're no longer hooked into. Like my story is I'm a star being. But if you asked me 20 years ago, I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have even claimed that story. I wouldn't have even believed it was possible. But now this is my new truth based on who I've become and how I've ascended and how my consciousness has shifted. The truths that I've come to know as me. But I have that whole story, but I'm neutral. So we're coming into this neutral place where we claim neutrality on all that was. And then what we claim about all that will be is excitement, joy, happiness, love, anticipation, glad expectation, non-attachment, acceptance, neutrality, love, peace, all those things. Make sense? But we're resurrected, we're rebirthed. We're no longer really in an ascension process. We're in a resurrection process. At some point, it's like, yeah, I'm not really so much ascending anymore. I'm renewed, I'm rebirthed. Now I get to use this in service. How do we get to serve others with our own ascension, with our own resurrection, with our own rebirth? And that's when you know you really are somehow really in that new state of being, because it's like, I just want to give this, I just want to share it, because it's so good, right? Okay, so look, but let's talk a little bit about this. Does this make sense? And you guys can ask questions at any time. I love questions. I'm totally cool with that. So, or make comments or share anytime. Just like, yeah.
Those who don't choose to ascend, are they going to repeat it here on Earth, or I'm just curious because if this whole planet is ascending, where are they
Yes.
going to be repeating this?
Let me ask you a question. How many Earths are there?
Probably millions.
Yes.
So it's just,
So the question is those people are having a consciousness, a reality, in a sense, on the separate Earth timeline. They fractal
okay, I got you.
into a parallel reality of their experience
I understand.
that's uniquely theirs. And for some time, your vibrations overlap, because it's all based on vibration and consciousness. So your vibration, in this room, we're vibrating in a similar frequency, and you feel it. If you just drop into your state of awareness, you're going to feel whatever you feel, have any awareness that you have. And in a sense, you're in your own holographic reality that's uniquely yours, but somehow we're all in vibrational proximity to one another, which is based on our desire to learn, grow, and evolve. And based on our frequency, right? Our openness, our willingness. So we come together, and we have this unique experience. But those people, they would never come to this room.
No, I understand.
They'd never
that.
show up. So they're having their separate reality in their separate parallel, and then sometimes we can overlap. But at some point, we start to fractal, where we just won't overlap anymore. You can always invite them into your reality, but in your mind you'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go unconscious while I'm with those people. It's okay, I have to don't ask, don't tell. Don't talk about this stuff. We get to talk about the weather and the movies. I steer clear of politics.
Like Thanksgiving.
Yeah. You kind of come together, and you know when you're around in that you're overlapping in a timeline, it doesn't necessarily feel good to you anymore. But because you want those people in your life, you're willing. You're somehow willing to overlap and just, you become something slightly separate than what you really are, but because those people matter to you and you love them. But then you go off and they have their experience. And you go up and you have yours. And eventually, somehow, some way, this starts to fractal. It becomes less and less. Because that's always the biggest question. We have our loved ones, and we still want our loved ones, and we want them to awaken too. And they have a choice on these overlapping timelines. They get the choice. Will they receive it? Will they choose? When they're in vibrational proximity with you, it's like the greatest gift to them. They have no idea how gifted they are in that moment to be even in your space. And it's not your ego cannot go into like, I'm better. You're not. You're just holding a different state of consciousness. This is why I put videos on YouTube, because hopefully they come into it in their own way, or they get to tune into it somewhere, and maybe somehow they surrender to it. Maybe that's their choice. Maybe not.
So if a loved one dies in the next year, 5 years, whatever, you don't quite notice it, so what happens to them?
Yeah, let's talk about that. It's a really good question. Can I come back to that in just 2 minutes? I want to give you a slight detour, and then I'll come back to that. So in the 60s, when it was, the age of Aquarius and the hippie movement and Woodstock and all of that, that was the initial sort of trigger point for the awakening of humanity. This is everything I've received in consciousness. And at those moments, there were certain light workers who were assigned to awaken humanity. Does anyone know who those people were? Yogananda, Gandhi, MLK, Martin Luther King, JFK, John Lennon, the Beatles, Mandela. So we see most of them, they were pretty much executed, right? That was on purpose, because the real timeline for humanity to awaken was 2012. So the execution was on purpose, and then what happened was there were deliberate attempts to sabotage humanity's consciousness, which was our own shadow, fear of awakening. There's no them or us. And so the awakening was delayed, and so then the next round was to plant star seeds in very secret ways so that they couldn't be executed, that they wouldn't even know they were star seeds. In the 60s, the same time those JFK was, who was born in 1965 in this room, or mid-60s, anyone? Okay, well I was. So that's exactly the time when they started planting star seeds, who would not even know who we were until we came into our true potency. Behind the scenes, we were nobody, in a sense, not celebrities or famous people, so that we wouldn't be discovered until the time we were really in our power, holding our light, our inner potency, so that we could use it, and we were so at such a frequency that no harm could come to us, divinely protected. So this is why you're seeing more and more people kind of popping up saying, I'm Starseed, I'm the Lightworker, I'm here to assist with, and they're mid-age, you know, and you don't even know who they were, right? So what happened with these deaths, to come back to your question, is that prior to 2012, we were in a quarantine state. We could call it quarantine. The vibration of the earth, of humanity, and this is linear time. So the vibration was so fear-based, and it was contained, all of earth, in terms of linearity, was contained within this matrix, which we could also call like a webbing, and everyone was trapped because of the vibration. So in organized religion, what's the word we call that when you can't get out? Purgatory. So even if you died, you'd be stuck in this vibrational range of purgatory. You couldn't get out. And the only way you could get out, you could do anything, was these false gods. I call them the lords of karma. They'd come in and they'd be like, oh, you sinned. You're a good person, we love you. But you sinned, you're a bad person. But you're a good person, we love you. Why don't you go back in there and do it over? And you'd be like, yes, I'm loved. You love me, I'm a good person. I just made some mistakes. I'll go back in. And they'd say, yeah, swipe your memory. Karma. Lords of karma posing as false gods in the non-physical. Your memory gets swiped, you go back in, you have to repeat. You're trapped. You can't really ascend. This is what I call a false ascension. So you, prior to 2012, false ascension, you can't really wake up, your memory gets swiped, you get forced back in, because the only way out is in. You can't get out. You're trapped in this matrix. And you have to repeat it all over with no consciousness, no memory of the mistakes you made. So this is called the looping pattern. Keep repeating it over and over and over again. And this is why so many people are just so downtrodden and frustrated now, because they've just been going through the same thing over and over. And this has been going on in terms of linear time, billions of years. That's why this ascension window is so important. Now, that's what used to happen. So what happened with the star seeds who were birthed, many star seeds who were birthed in the 60s. Has anyone heard the term grid worker? Okay. What these grid workers did was they went around doing grid work. They're not famous. Most of them, maybe now they have some YouTube channels and they're teaching, but basically, you don't know who they are. They traveled around the world and they did what's called grid work. So what they did was they took patterns of sacred geometry that only they knew about at that time, or maybe other people knew, because sacred geometry is a universal language on Earth, but they took certain prayers, certain rituals, certain energetic vibrations and frequencies of energy, and they knew. They used dowsing in a lot of cases to find certain spots. Everybody who knows about dowsing, you know about dowsing? They find spots in the earth, portals and windows, gateways, chakra centers. You're familiar with chakra centers of the earth? And they'd work with these crystals and anchor them into the earth. Now, what are these crystals doing? They're holding consciousness. To me, I just did a whole course. By the way, I forgot to say, where if you put your email address and your name. Make sure we can read it. Carolina will pass around this form. I'll send you the free class I just did. It's a 2-hour class on the crystals, the crystal consciousness. So I'm bringing people to Arkansas. We're going to go work with crystals and do grid work. And it's all about that, but it's about the crystals. So these grid workers would work with the crystals. And what the crystals are time capsules, in my opinion. I only got this from Crystal Consciousness. So there's time capsules from our star family in the future. And they live inside the earth, storing up the records, the true records of our true history, the truth of who we are, and all the perfect patterns of perfect geometry. So when they're planted in the earth, they're connecting with the star family. The star family races are connected to the crystals. They're using energy and consciousness to elevate the frequency. These grid patterns in the earth are now working to break through, have been since the 60s, this matrix, this webbing. The webbing, for years, they would try to repair it so that nobody could get free. You couldn't get out. After 2012, that was not allowed anywhere. That was the timeline that said this old system is over no matter what. You have up until 2012, you can play all you want. But after 2012, no harm shall ever be done again to these humans without their conscious consent. Conscious consent will be restored, whereas before we were still working with the law of free will, but there was no conscious consent. It was unconscious. Now, conscious consent is required on a whole new level. That's another topic. But nonetheless, this is to answer your question. That grid, the sacred crystals, thank you. My own heart opens to it. Thank you, grid workers. These people are so humble around the world. Like, no credit. They got no credit. Just traveling with their, and they have, most of these people don't have a lot of money. Just traveling around the world, working with crystals, to being of service, opening the grids. So they freed us. They liberate us. And now when somebody crosses over, to complete your question, Bo, they get to have a true ascension. So even though the people who might not become conscious on planet Earth at this time in their body, they'll finish out their life like they always thought. They cross over, but now they get a true ascension. No lord of karma gets to pose as love, wipe their memory and say, go back, rinse and repeat. Actually, they get an ascension, a true ascension, only in the non-physical. Make sense?
Last time you talked about things that are actively trying to stop this from happening.
Shadow aspects.
I don't know if you're, I don't want to skip ahead if you're going to talk about
No, it's okay. All right, so what we've had in this pre-2012 timelines, where it was, pre-awakening essentially, is we've had a reptilian-based, but we could also include other, I call them the archons. So if we talk about the true history of Earth and humanity prior to 2012, overall we've been controlled, dominated, and manipulated by what we call reptilian overlords. But they're aspects of us. We have reptilian brain, we have reptilian thinking. Anyone believe that if you go into the sun too long you will get burned? Yeah, okay, that's a reptilian program. So it's a program in your spiritual consciousness, holographic matrix, physical body, it's a program running. It's an implant. So yes, if you go out and sit in the skin, your sun will get burned. That's from reptilian ancestry. That's just an example, not to get sidetracked because we go into it deeper, but these reptilian overlords, which are as much our star family as Palladians or Syrians, they are star families of ours. They vibrate, their vibrational range vibrates in harmony with what vibration? Fear. So these, prior to 2012, these reptilian overlords, there's also draconian overlords, there's also been grays who really are, that's slight offshoot, we can talk about that more. Mantids, like just different star family races those star family races who are aspects of us too, have vibrated in harmony with fear. So what else vibrates in harmony with fear? You guys know this. Worry, anxiety, shame, blame, frustration, anger, resentment, stress, tension. Okay, domination, control, manipulation. Okay, it's a hierarchical type of system where overlords overlord other lords, lords overlord serfs and serfdoms and kingdoms. There's kingdoms of this. And it all set up in this nice hierarchical system. And we see it in our society if we're willing to look at it. Kings and queens who have people under them, and presidents who have people under them. And believe me, there's hierarchies beyond presidency. And there are overlords of reptilian beings. They might even be people sitting in space programs, building spaceships. They might be people in our own government. They don't necessarily fully know that that's what they're doing. They might be presidents or previous presidents, kings and queens. And if it's okay, I know I might push some buttons here. I hope it's okay. Can I push some buttons?
Sure, please.
They might be sitting at the very top of our Roman Catholic Church and in other organized religions. And we don't know to what extent, we don't really know. They know because we're not in their heads. How conscious of it are they? To what extent? Many of them are very conscious of it. Many of them aren't. We're not conscious of our own unconscious. We're not conscious of what we're not conscious of. We don't know what we don't know. We've been here in a state, this is another button pusher when I use this word, we've been in a state of ignorance. We didn't know. We've been in a state of denial. We had to do that in order to play that game. The game's up. The game was up in 2012. But we put ourselves in that state. We needed these overlords, in a sense, to overlord us so we would stay unconscious, so we could have that experience. And through that experience, we expanded. Creator, true infinite love. By the way, post-2012, we'll talk about the vibration. But Creator is so full of love. It could never have these experiences unless it made itself unconscious. We were the ones serving Creator's consciousness by willing to be in denial and unconscious, because it could never go to such darkness. Creator is too much love. So it put unconsciousness in us and promised the gift of awakening at this point in time. I promise we will awaken. We'll come back into unity with love. But we had to be in denial and unconscious. We need these reptilian overlords, so to speak, to hold this frequency of fear-based, because that was the only way, if we were so afraid that we could ever have this kind of depth of shadow aspect. That's how I've come to see it.
So we have a collective contract of trauma?
We have many collective contracts. Is this a table? It's a collective contract. Is this color tan or beige? That's a collective contract. If we can agree that this is chair, that's a collective contract. A collective contract to go through trauma, to experience that, because over here infinite love doesn't even, in a sense, know what trauma is. In a sense, in a way, this infinite love that is the truth of all that is, could never experience trauma without some form of unconscious, fear-based control, hierarchical system to have that experience. It could never experience that without all of this. It's a service to the Creator's consciousness, in a sense, right? Okay, I want to talk about what this vibration is. But those are the overlords, draconians, reptilians, and the thing is they're still playing their game because they have their contract. Talk about contract. It's not fully expired until everybody has a chance to wake up. This is why this linear time of ascension, the ascension timeline is so important, because it's like begging everybody to wake up, because the gift is in the consciousness. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Is this helpful to people?
Yes.
Okay, good. So did you have a question?
What about the autistic beings that are here?
Yeah. So my understanding of autism and autistic beings is that two things. Number one is that many of them are working through issues for their soul family and their lineage, and they needed to do the maximum work they could without being disturbed. So they go into the state of they're not interacting with the rest of the reality in the same way, but they're working through all those issues from an internal perspective while being on Earth, holding a vibration of consciousness, transmuting a vibration, another range of unconsciousness vibration, without any expectations really of them by the physical world. So they get to do work, transcend their family lineage of stuff, and nobody expects them to be anything other than. But if you look at when I'm doing healing, sometimes I know I'm doing like, interesting, right?
I have 2 autistic grandchildren.
They tend to be really actually super advanced in their internal state, but they're not expressing it externally. That's one main reason.
How do I communicate with them and what do I do to help, or if any, or do they even need help?
Well, they only need help from the perspective of the person who perceives that they need help. But in a sense, how you can communicate today will help and tomorrow will help, because it's what they're doing is their real language is a language of energy and vibration. And that is the future. That is where we're all going. We've been relying on a language of words. Sometimes we, if we're a little intuitive prior to 2012, body language like this, you know, we've used, but that's still where you're relying on our physical senses. But they're using a very non-physical way of communication, which is beyond our, over here, kind of current knowing. So in this way, they're also helping us to shift into a new way of communication. Our future communication is entirely based on energetic frequency and vibration, energetic exchange, energetic experience. Doesn't mean we'll stop doing this necessarily, although we're all becoming more telepathic. And we're learning how to do that, so there will be that. But it's also an energetic, because you know what love is. You know what love feels like. In fact, if everyone in this room right now just like drops into that heart center, just for a moment, if we just take a breath and really let ourselves drop, we'll notice just feel what you feel. Just feel whatever you feel, not with your left brain. Just feel. You can feel so subtle. You can feel the energy in the room so peaceful. Yeah? Can you feel that? Does everybody sort of have a sense? Did anyone have like a little hard time with that? It's okay. Did anybody sort of feel like, I don't know. Anybody? Okay, that's okay. It's good that you admit it. It's good that you say that. Because it means you're still really up here. And that's okay. Because that's what we're evolving out of. This is reptilian brain here, you know. This is like more of a hybridized brain. The collective unification. And as we unite this and we come down, we're able to better drop here. And this is the ultra-sensory brain. Knows, feels, senses, sees, can discern. So we're developing. That's what we're here for. But as you notice, for those of you who did really kind of notice, did you feel that? All right, well, that's where they're at. They're not sitting here going, okay, I need to write lists, make lists, get along with my mother, pay my bills, get a job, go to college, study this. That's a waste to them. They don't need that.
They're processing
internally, energetic exchanges.
previous lives.
Perhaps,
As well.
potentially, most likely, in some, but for their lineage, they're working through energetic, and they're not even, I don't know because I'm not in their brain.
Yeah.
I only have consciousness experience, and I've had that question asked, and I've asked consciousness, help me understand so I can help people understand. I'm a translator,
Right.
but I've never actually dialogue. I have dialogue many times with unborn babies, many times. And I've dialogued with aborted babies.
Right.
I mean, so I know that directly, but I have never dialogued directly with, so I don't know for sure.
Well,
I only have what I have from consciousness on this. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they are in the world, but not of the
Yes.
world.
Right.
Yeah,
So they are
and they're
in-
really doing, they're just the big thing to understand is
So
they're
we do for
doing
them
energetic
what they
work
would
for
do
their
for-
lineage. Does that make sense?
They're doing what they need to do.
Yeah. I mean, we want them to adapt and adjust to what we think is appropriate.
Well, not if they don't.
Right, well,
Me.
you're more advanced, but most humans think that we're trying to get them to somehow adapt and adjust, and
Right.
in reality, I don't necessarily know that that is for their highest and best. But one thing I can tell you that I know, and I know everyone in this room knows that this prayer works. Prayer works. And one of the best prayers I think we can ever say is, what is for this being's highest and best? What is for their highest and best? Divine Source, let whatever is for their highest and best come to pass in the highest and best ways possible. Thank you. That prayer is so powerful. It's like, Source responds to prayer. That's why we're all here, because we have free will. And that's why actually star seeds were planted here, because the star family races could do lots of work from the other realm, but on Earth there's a collective agreement. You have to live on Earth to make certain changes within the collective. You have to be here with using your free will. So, okay, make sense? Helpful? Let's talk about these frequencies here, post-2012, right? The new primary energetic frequencies, what are those? You guys know this. Love. Love and peace based. Love, peace, joy, compassion, service, unity consciousness. So pre-2012, we had basically service to self. Me, the Me Too movement. Anyone know someone whose last name ends in a me? Tammy, for example. Me. My needs. I know names. I study names. That's another one of the things I love to do. I study numbers. I love the numbers. They're a universal language. Names have an energetic frequency. You can transmute it to something better. But people, you can know a lot about them by their name. So anyway, this is 2012 is all me. And that's what we've seen in our government, for example. All that corruption, all the greed, the banks, It's like me. Who cares? Fuck them. Right? But now, 2012 made that shift very quickly from that kind of separation into we, from me to we. And we're really, the shift is from we to one. From me to we to one. So that we becomes, how do we serve and support one another? I can't tell you, I've never had anyone be so nice to me as Carolina here. She called up for weeks, can you come? I want the people here to have a taste of you. I want the people to see you. I want to bring you to the people here. She did that in service. And she was diligent and patient. Then I get here, she picks me up at the airport. Here's my home, I've never seen someone be so service-oriented. Can I make your food? She went and bought me, my suitcase did not arrive. Okay, I won't say about my airline, but anyway, so I go in, my phone fell in the water. Okay, it's a whole thing. And I go into the phone store to get my phone fixed. And she drops next door and gets me a toothbrush. I mean, like to me, service is like, come on, we'll stop and go in and get a toothbrush. Thanks for waiting for me to go run in and get a toothbrush. No, she went in and she gets me the toothbrush. I mean, this is like the new reality. It's just that you really do want to serve because it just brings you joy. I can see it. She's like making food and putting food and dressing the food up on the table. I'm like, it's the service from the heart. And that is like, it's happening. I mean, I can't tell you how much happiness this woman has brought to my life because of the kindness that she has extended to me. And the welcome that I got here, just from even the people I've met, even the other night and just the first few days I've been here. That's like, that kindness for me, I've not known that kindness myself personally. So touching, right? I mean, that's this new from me to we. And that kind of like love and joy, it feels so good. There's nothing that can measure that over here. no amount of money, and you see, that touches, that opens our heart to compassion and love. There's nothing like that. I've not ever had people be so kind to me. And that's because it's just a new reality. I don't know that I would have even been able to receive that back here. I don't think, in fact, Carolina said, I went 4 years. I wanted to get you here, but I didn't know if you were, like, she didn't say it like this. She said in her true words, but she didn't know if I was able to or ready, or I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready to receive that kind of generosity because I had to do my own inner work. So this frequency is about we and shifting into that oneness, recognizing ultimately it is a oneness. It's coming from the divine source. And the oneness is really, in a sense, you live in your own holographic reality. You do. We all do. And we have this holographic experience where other free will beings come in, but they're meeting us on any now timeline, any now moment, any now moment of reality where our consciousness connects at a frequency with their consciousness based on who we are. So this is really important. Get this. I have a belief system about a person. Let's name this person Person A. And over here I see Person A as rigid and difficult and a problem. But I also have a belief system about Person A that even though she's rigid and difficult, she's really good at what she does. Really talented and gifted. So over here, Person A, I keep perceiving, wow, she's really helpful, she's done a great job, I'm so grateful, I'm really appreciative. And Person A keeps showing up in my reality as she's really helpful. She's still rigid, but she's really helpful. I'm really appreciative of her because she's really helping, she does a great job. And that's the experience I have with Person A. But in one moment's time, I could be like, she's just too freaking rigid. Too much trouble, too much work, I just can't do this anymore. And then the next day, next moment, Person A is in my reality like, I can't do this with you anymore. I'm done. Because we're meeting at that frequency. It's the same person, two different realities, two different experiences. So the question is up to us. How do I want to experience this person? Because this person will show up to me as kind and compassionate, or bitchy and moany, or loving. It's based on who we are. The days of blame and shame is over. This is oneness, right? Oneness is, I am going to perceive. I'm not going to be in denial. I'm aware that Person A has rigidity. I'm aware. But I'm going to stay in a state of gratitude. I'm going to extend love. And if it's not working, I'm going to release them in love and move on and say there's something better. Send me a Person B who has all those great qualities of Person A, but not necessarily. But I love her and bless her, but I'm ready for something better. Now a Person B can come in. But the moment I'm judging Person A as, that's messed up, I don't like that, that's bad. Not only have I had a big to-do with Person A, but another Person A is going to come in. A different Person A with a different name. Same pattern. Because my consciousness is not done with that dance. This is oneness. But over here, I'm not forgetting, over here, Person A is the wrong one. And we can't even see that Person A showed up 50 times in our life with 50 different names. Same person. You with me? This is oneness. And anyway, the truth is, in oneness, we would have already said, wow, Person A, you know what, maybe she can't help me, but maybe I can help her. What can I send her that I think she's missing? I'll send her some love. Oh, you know what, she's a thief? Okay, you know what, I'm not a thief. I don't need to play that game, but I'll send her some integrity. Or I'll say a prayer that whatever she needs for her highest and best, and then I'd be done with her and invite Person B in, because I'm done with it.
Isn't that like women who marry, or men who marry the same person?
Yes!
They figure it out?
Exactly. That's this whole game here, cycle and repeat. Memory wash, you don't get to ascend, come right back in, cycle and repeat, cycle and repeat, cycle and... I mean, are we done with the hamster wheel? But it's up to us to get off and be like, I'm done. But in order to be done, you have to be in neutral. That's the neutral. That's why meditation and healing is so powerful and so profound, because you identify, that thing right there, I don't want to repeat it anymore. I want to be done. So then an energy healer who's in the neutral state, they're neutral. They're not triggered. You're not going to work it out with that person by sitting there saying, you did this to me, you did that, that bitch. No, you have to come to someone who's neutral, or somehow bring yourself to neutrality. And in that neutrality, then that's where the forgiveness, God, yes, I'm in so much love. Now I can really release that in love. Bit by bit, we get free, we get disentangled. Make sense? What were you gonna ask?
Oh, it was just an observation.
I'm
because
sorry, go
everything-
ahead.
Everything was how I respond to them, reverse it. Because it's how I'll see, how I am choosing to respond to that other person. So
Yes.
you were saying it's all this way, but it's actually
It's
this
both.
way.
It's both. Because we are beings that are radiating out something. We are radiating out our perspective on somebody. The perspective is in this example, she's rigid, oh, she's helpful. That's my perspective. That's radiating out from me. By the way, that's a law of radiation. I'm the creator of that perspective. I'm the perceiver. I'm the definer. It radiates out from me. She's now going to respond in some way by being that which I perceive, because both are true. That is now going to circulate in and around the field of consciousness. There's a unique individualized being with a free will there. She's going to radiate something back, which I'm going to now attract. What's that law? Law of attraction. So it's both. You're absolutely right.
For
You are.
example, the person who's always a victim. I mean, that's their perception, that's
Yes.
what they're putting out. So
Yes.
they're always going to attract
Yes.
all those people that will victimize them.
Yes. Exactly. Precisely. Yes. It's both. This is why you get into these looping like, is it me? Is it them? What is it? And then before you realize, you're like, it doesn't matter. It's just a looping program. I just want to shift the experience. Who cares? That's the over-analytical reptilian brain. We will analyze, we will debate, we will argue, we will discuss, we will tell our story over. That's why a lot of times healers will say, can we just stop the story? Let's stop the story, let's shift the energy. Let's pull that trigger out, let's clear that hook, let's unhook you. Let's transform this, let's give it to the divine, take it away. And let's come back into our true divine love. Because it's like, who cares? It's just this looping, cycling pattern. But you're absolutely right, because if you're a victim, if you're radiating, for example, victim-victimizer programming, you're either a victim or a victimizer, or you've been victimized, you're going to keep attracting that. You're exactly right. And we can label it with a million words. I mean, those are archetypical patterns, right? Victim, victimizer, martyr, judge, wounded child, everyone's got that. You know, I can go into I have a whole course on the archetypes, sacred archetypes, but those all have to be cleared from us. And this is why this whole coming into the neutral is so important, because from that, I call it sacred neutral. That's my term, I don't know. But also it's called 0 point. This 0 point where there's just so pure potential, everything is gone, there's nothing there, and it's the 0 point. Pure neutrality, now you can recreate something new. But everything else can go. It gets cleansed from all that stuff. Make sense? Okay. How are we on time? I'm an hour in. So I have okay, so let's do some more. Any other, I'm so good. Questions?
Yes. So just the intention of shifting the loop, the exchange, the cycle, is what you're saying. Just the intention of saying, we're going to step out of this and just acknowledge
The intention is like one of the most important steps, really. It's so important, because the moment you make the intention, first of all, is kind of the awareness, if you think of it like it's the choice. Because over here we don't have any awareness. I mean, someone's in there, to use that example, victimizer state. They feel victimized. They're telling their story over and over again because they feel it. What's the victim looking for? Something to heal their victim, but they don't know how. So they're in this looping pattern. Somebody finally says, you're just playing the role of a victim. Now, there's that moment. Okay, somebody gives them something, somehow, some way, they become aware. I've just been a victim, now what? Okay, I think I want to become victorious. That's the job of the victim. The victim's never to blame, they're a victim. But how long do you want to be a victim for? You have to become victorious. How long do you want to carry PTSD? How long do you want to play with cancer? How long do you want to be whatever your game is? It's a game over here, right? We don't think of it. So then you have some epiphany, like there could be something else. Okay, I want to become victorious. How? Then I choose, desire, intent. They might not be that powerful yet, but yeah, I intend to become victorious. Now you've just shifted onto a new timeline. You've just shifted your state of consciousness. Well, this is a victim timeline. It's all timelines. It's all dimensions of reality. It's all instants of moments. We track it like a linear experience, but right here, right now, I'm going to have a new experience where I become victorious. Now that transformation starts happening. Makes sense? But the other thing too is, you see, the divine wants to be known, in a sense. In a way, the highest truth is divine is pure love, pure consciousness. That's it. There's no will, there's no want, there's no nothing. Pure conscious love, conscious. Aware, conscious, love. Right, so that's some kind of Santa Claus in the sky. Right, I think we all know that in here. So, this divine source just is, but it's fractaling off of its own self vibrationally, in a sense, and through that, the will of the divine is to know itself, to experience itself embodied, or in this reality of the physical experience. So, through that experience and that will, the moment the human says, Source, what is your will? What is your will of this? How do I emerge victorious? Show me how to be victorious. The moment it's requested, it's done. Because the will of the divine is to experience through us, as us. Isn't that? So when we're over here being, I'm a victim, the will of the divine is, you're a victim. Okay? So it is. We know that, right, don't we? And so it is. That's why we have so much power. See, here's what's funny to me. This is what I love. The mainstream reality right now has been set up for, I'm powerless. Well, they're just corrupt. There's nothing you can do about it. You walk around, okay, now I'm going to reveal it. I was on United Airlines. I could not believe it.
I knew it.
I had to say it. I was like, this is like, what are we doing on this plane? Like, this is like, what have we come to believe is acceptable? Why do we see ourselves as so worthless and mediocre that this kind of treatment is okay?
Thank you.
$1,000.
We don't.
Thank you. This is what humanity has been reduced to. The money means more than me. It's ridiculous. And we're walking around accepting worse than mediocrity. Of course, because we did that to ourselves. We programmed ourselves that way. We allowed that. We chose it. We didn't even know we were unconscious. Money, money, money. I mean nothing. Right? Me, 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 me. Right? So
You sound
now
like Captain Hook.
I'm hooking you in.
In that movie?
Oh,
I talked.
I never saw that.
Hooking you in, yeah.
He's talking to Peter Pan's children.
Ah.
He just duplicated that.
Oh, okay, maybe I need to watch that, just to have a laugh. But, okay, so anyway, my point is that this man, here's the thing, he's this older man, he's 6 feet tall, his knees were buck up against the seat. I had like an inch or so. Anyway, so I said to him, how come we didn't get more leg room? And he says, $189. And I said, I think that's absurd too. However, I looked at him right in the eyes, I said, you deserve extra leg room. You deserve it. You're worth it. And I could understand because somewhere in his consciousness, he did not have that awareness. He didn't believe that he was worth it. He didn't know. And he had made a decision that of the wrongness of the extra amount of money. Which it is. We can judge that as wrong. It's absurd. Everyone should have more leg room. But we have not realized we deserve it and we're worth it. We haven't owned that, right? So, well, anyhow, where was I going with that? Because it was a bigger story that was better. Oh, so humanity's walking around thinking there's nothing we can do. This is just what we're stuck with. They have all the power, these global elites, right? And then a good chunk of humanity's like, okay, I'm going to get on the Me Too movement. We're going to fight them, petition them. But that doesn't work because that's the old cycle. That's the old way of doing things. It's just creating more energy of not right, bad. So you're in this resistance reaction struggle, which is just to further entangle you in the third dimensional reality of separation and consciousness. Because you're a victim. Someone did it to you. You've got to fight the big man or else you're powerless. You've got those two extremes, polarity, right? You either have to fight it, petition it, sign it, resist it, react it, judge it, or give up. You don't get any legroom, you're not worth anything, it's just the way it is. That's the options there. But here's where the power is. This is what I'm saying. As we are awakening to that the divine will is our will, as we realize that the divine does respond, but ours is to hold the state of neutrality, to not be in entanglement, because the moment you're entangled, you're in here. You're trapped in here. The moment you come into that neutrality, you say source, creator, right here. Now listen, hear me. As the consciousness of source, serving source consciousness, this is what I respectfully request and respectfully command now. That all animals on this planet are to be treated with absolute kindness, care, compassion, sentient, human and animal, plant and mineral. This is my command. Source, creator, consciousness, I command now. Bring more organic foods into our reality. Eliminate all GMOs. Now maybe one person doesn't have that much power. I don't think that's true because we live in our holographic reality. So if I'm creating it for my hologram, I'm going to line up with that timeline, yeah? But what if 50 of us get together and have one united intention? We know this is what Lightworkers are doing. So over here they think they're powerless, but over here when we say remove every single person from a place of authority who has plans to harm or does detriment or harm to everyone deliberately and or consciously with malintent, get them out of power now. This is commanded, we all agree. Get them out of power in the highest and best ways. No harm, just simply restore to our collective the leaders who truly desire to serve us, to support us and uplift us, who are willing to serve, support us, and uplift us in the highest and best ways. We're collectively united. We agree. Let this be done. We choose, we desire, we intend leadership who truly serves the greater good. Bring those people into power now. Bring those people into leadership positions. Remove immediately all those who seek to cause harm. That's not okay.
Are we telling or are we just?
We're commanding. Respectfully. Respectfully.
But it's a unity of.
Unity. Because the new reality is only that which serves the greatest good of all with harm to none. Absolutely. I'm not asking for any harm to come to anyone ever. I never would. Because I wouldn't even be here. I wouldn't be able to do this, but I do. It's our collective agreement that in this new reality that we are co-creating with the divine, we only want that which serves the highest and best of all concerned with harm to none. The greater good. Now, if someone's in power who's deliberately causing harm, they must be removed from power. The highest and best ways. Harm to none, but they have to get out of the way. They're not allowed in this new, this is where our power is. It's us reuniting, recognizing that we have the power of the divine when we know how to use it. And the truth is that the intelligence of the quantum field is always responding. Is always responding. Over here, we're powerless. We're stuck with these seats. Nothing you can do. Now you can petition, but a lot of good that did at the pipeline. I mean, you know what I mean? What good is that? Never really did any good because those people who are in leadership are still pulling all the purse strings. But when you understand that you're aligned with the divine and the quantum field is responding to you, you don't have to say it the way that's my style. But your style is simply what your style is. Your style might be source, please bring more organics. Thank you. Source, please bring more people into positions of leadership who serve the greater good, who sincerely desire to do the highest and best service for all. Please bring more beings into leadership positions who actually will care for our economy or who absolutely will reshape this. Or we have that power because we didn't even know over here that anyone was listening or paying attention. And we were made to believe that there was no power that we had. But over here, we understand the divine intelligence and the quantum field is always responding. And that our request and command makes a difference. The only thing that will make it not work is if we're entangled in judgment, in wrongness. And I'm not judging the old leaders. They serve their purpose. I'm just not interested in having them lead my country anymore or my planet. Are you? No, because they served their purpose. We're done. Let's move on. Let's have something better.
I noticed in a lot of different groups I've gone to see in the last few years, so I'll make it a question. Why is it primarily women? And why is it in the groups that I see in this city, it's primarily white now. I know you're here, but there's primarily.
Well, what I can
I
say,
don't see, maybe I'm not in the greatest.
well, what I
with
can
that,
say
but-
here about this is, the old system is a patriarchal system, and
Yeah,
that system of what we call the third dimensional consciousness pre-2012, that's based on these energies that are masculine-based energies. That's it, regardless of gender. So what is the masculine energy? Who knows? What's masculine energy?
Positive.
Force.
Of course.
Now, when I say force, I don't mean I'm forcing you, although that is true, that's part of it. I mean action, movement, creation. That's why we were do. There's no meditating over here. If you meditate, you're woo-woo. Right?
Yeah.
So what is feminine energy?
Peace,
Woo-woo.
calm,
It's,
Receptivity.
love is neutral. Peace is neutral. Feminine energy is all that is. Just is. Doesn't really do. It is receptivity, but in reality, it's all that is. It's being. Being. Existing. Existence. All of existence. It's just neutral. It just is. So this force of creation, over here, it's all masculine. And primarily the masculine body embodied that. That's why women burn their bras in a sense. I mean, there's more to that story than this. But, you know, let's just become men. Because that's all there is. Do. Be successful. Take action. Build pointy buildings that look like penises.
yeah.
That's masculine energy. Now, this shift of consciousness, in order to restore us to balance, what do you need? The feminine energy to balance it out. Feminine energy says, now that's why men love women so much, because, and women love men, because ideally, if the masculine container is I'm going to make it happen, the woman container is I'm going to be here, allowing, holding space. But the thing is, in this shift, we're reuniting, right? But as this new feminine energy is called in, it's the women who are embodying it and awakening it, because it's so natural to us. It's our truth. Now, if you look at this shift, I just want to say a few more things about this. Men have lost their way pre-2012. They're like, they don't even know what it means to be a man. I mean, I'm amazed. We went into the phone store, and we walk in the phone store, and we walk up to like a man and we're like, okay, can you just tell us the difference between the iPhone 8, the iPhone, and the X? And he's like, well, just read it, it's right there. So we talk to each other, and Carolina makes a joke to me. We're just laughing, like, oh, that's such a man response. Like, you just do it. You just do
Well,
it.
they would never
Two
read
s-
the manual.
2 seconds later, a woman comes up. I think she called it in because I was just, whatever. And she asked the question again, can you just tell us the difference in the iPhone 8 has this, the iPhone baby has this, the woman knows exactly. So what is that? Because while we were laying dormant, we developed our inner power, we rebirthed it, and now it's being rebirthed globally from within the woman. So woman's now restoring herself, restoring her true divine feminine. That's why you're seeing these movements. Like when I was in Maui, I was going to dance, anyone been to a Sweat Your Prayers class? Sweat Your Prayers. Oh, you guys got to do that. 5 rhythms. I'd walk into the dance class, men walking with pink tutus, jumping across the room, people rediscovering their inner desires, and you just sweating your prayers, dancing, learning how to reconnect with the body, express the body in ways that we were never allowed to do before. I did things in Maui I can't even believe I ever did, walking around with a scarf and nothing else on, in a dance class. I mean, because you have to rebirth this divine sacredness from within, right? Opening Kundalini, I had Kundalini activations. I remember looking at a rock coming out of a Kundalini class like, oh my God. That's what happened. You think you're on drugs, but you're not. It's just the sacred energy being rebirthed through you, right? So this is being rebirthed through women, and now men are having to level up because they're a little lost. But it's both ways. Women have been lost. It's happening. It's not just a man-woman thing. It's a reunion of the feminine and the masculine within each of us. So how do we reunite that part that takes action and does, and also sits and allows and bees? It's like the human being. You know that saying, human doing versus human being. Make sense? Is that helpful?
Well, yeah, it resonates with something. When I used to be 13 or so, and I had the edge of my bed, which I'm still sleeping on, and I had one little window, and I would sit out there, and you're being told, you know, do this and go to school and do all this, and my father was an attorney and do all this, and I would just sit there and go, I would just be.
Yes.
And so it, oh, wow, okay. That explains something.
Yeah, because in you, you already know. You already have, we all have those seeds. So, and the other thing I just say, and then we'll take a break in a few minutes, a 5-minute break, and then we'll do the healing meditation. But, maybe, a little bit more. But what we have inside of us is what's called an original divine blueprint. Every human, every animal, all plants and minerals have an original divine blueprint. And that original divine blueprint does not include aging or sickness or illness. And death is optional. Death is a new choice. It's a conscious choice to depart, to leave, to, like stepping off a curb. And that original divine blueprint is lying dormant in us. So it needs to be awakened. Also what we have within us is dormant DNA. So this dormant DNA can be activated at certain windows or gateways or portals. This is stuff that I do in my classes and workshops. I do online workshops and classes to awaken the dormant DNA and activate these dormant codes in our DNA that are often called key codes. I call them key codes, so like a lock and a key, right? Where potentially our star family races or the divine or some aspect of consciousness or something in the field is going into your own DNA energetically and opening this key code that restores you to your full and complete consciousness and the totality of yourself as the divine incarnate. Why is it, I just want to, slight digression here, why is it that we all believe that Jesus was a fully embodied being? We all believe in Jesus, and we know Jesus said, you can do all this and more. And we don't believe it's possible for us. We believe in Jesus, we worship Jesus, we love Jesus. Oh, yeah, it's not us. We can't have it. We're just too little. I don't get it. It's like he had it right. He is an ascended master. He's still available to us. He's still working with us through Ascension. And yet we don't believe that it's possible. But I feel like I am doing, in some ways, even more than Jesus. Because he didn't have to run an internet, run a business, and all kinds of other things. And plus he had Mary of Magdalene on his side. I'm still freaking single. So, you know. Yeah, he had 12 disciples.
Actually, they had 144.
Yeah, right, 144, right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that represents the dormant DNA, right? I mean, we actually have way more than 12 strands of DNA. So we know that our first job is to sort of start activating beyond the first two, right? So let me explain, I do want to say this, because this is some of the healing we'll do. The first two strands of DNA are basically the ancestral records. So if your ancestor took on a belief system that life's, name one disease, okay, cancer, it's an easy one. You know, cancer is basically the formation of deeply held anger, rage, and resentment that is not expressed, never expressed, it's suppressed. So the person who had that belief system in their unconscious that they weren't allowed to express their anger, or they just didn't know how, or it wasn't safe for them, or they couldn't somehow say it, or there was no one to listen, or whatever. And whatever it was about, let's say it was about their mother, it will show up as a breast cancer, right? Or if it's about just their life or something else, it might show up as liver cancer. Or if it's about the world in general, it might show up as lymphoma, because it's the whole body, right? Okay, so this energetic state of being, essentially, where was I going with that? Okay, when we're doing healing, it could get stored in the DNA. So if the grandmother had this belief and she carried it, and then the grandmother told the daughter, we have cancer runs in our family, and the daughter said, yeah, well, I guess we do. She believed it. Now her DNA is going to show a record of that. And then if the mother tells the daughter, the granddaughter, hey, you know, we have cancer in our family, the granddaughter believes it, then the granddaughter, now it's stored up as your ancestry, your DNA has cancer. But no one in their lineage ever knew how to express and forgive the mother before them for being a shitty mother. So that's why there's breast cancer. Does this make sense? So when we do healing, we can actually, I can't speak for other healers, I don't know. I know a lot of other healers, but I don't know all their processes. But I could actually go into that lineage and see the pattern, that record in their DNA, and divine source in all its perfection can easily identify it and clear it out of the DNA. Then, as that pattern is cleared from the DNA, then source goes, oh, let me also give them this so they never repeat it again. Let me give them forgiveness. Because what is the cure to cancer? The true cure to cancer. Forgiveness. She's angry, she has to forgive. She has to forgive her crappy mother who didn't know how to have a good mother because she had a crappy mother. Just examples. We love our mothers, of course we do. You understand, I'm an exaggerator for the entertainment value or whatever, it's the way it comes out. I mean, otherwise you guys be bored. Not that I do it on purpose, just my style. But so we understand, source can clear all that stuff out. So if you have another thing in your lineage, for example, that says, you know, you have Alzheimer's. Well, what is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is, I want to check out. I want to check out. Why did Ronald Reagan get Alzheimer's? He wanted to check out. He got himself in something he didn't even know what he was getting into when he became president. And when he started to speak up, they tried to assassinate him. And then he was like, shit, I'm going to die. I just want out. I'm just going to sit here and be stupid and dumb. Let them do it so I can survive through it. But in that process, he checked out. I want out. So if the family lineage believes that Alzheimer's is an ancestral pattern, and one parent says, oh, your grandfather had Alzheimer's, you better take care of your brain, you might get Alzheimer's, and the kid grows up thinking, oh my God, what if I get Alzheimer's? Now they've imprinted in the DNA. Now the DNA is storing a record. This needs to be cleared. So finally, post-2012, you meet a healer like me, or some, you know, I'm not taking claim, because we all have gifts within us, our unique gifts, whatever are meant to blossom from us, as we awaken our original divine blueprint, as we clear the ancestral lineage. I can go in, there it is, let's get it out. By the way, I can do this with animals too, of course, because animals are taking on our stuff, helping us. So once you clear out those first 2 strands of all your ancestors, and this can go back 7 generations or more in the bloodline, once you clear that out, now the person starts coming into the neutral. Into the neutral. You're like, oh, yeah, I'm not afraid of that anymore. Actually, that doesn't even feel real to me. I don't even know. That was like an illusion from, it's not who I am anymore. I'm free from that. I'm liberated. You start coming into that sacred neutral. You get all the hooks. There's all kinds of energetic hooks, cords, entanglements. They're all representing. They sometimes show up, I'll give you this, as chakra blockages. What's heart problems? It's nothing more than a blockage in the heart center to love, or to compassion, or to gentleness, something in that area. So even if it's not in the DNA, if it's just, I have heart problems, maybe it has nothing to do with, the person could say, it's not in my lineage, not in my DNA. Okay, well maybe you took it on for the family, but nonetheless, that's fine. Let's just clear it from that energy center. And let's download and instill from Creator's consciousness incredible love and compassion, how deeply loved you are, how lovable you are, how worthwhile you are as a human being. Then you start taking that truth from the divine source, because it's in the field. You're now embodying it. You're so full of love. Now all of a sudden you don't need that heart surgery, right? I once had a client, she had, actually she's on YouTube, I think, made a testimonial for me. She had to get a full hysterectomy. She had a surgery planned for a full hysterectomy, cutting everything out. So when she came to me, this is I think the first time I ever met her, she did a package, 4 sessions, and she was like, I'm going to do the surgery, I'm going to listen to what the doctors say, but let's just see what we can do. I'm like, great, let's just see what we can do. That's perfect. I'm not telling you to do anything you don't want to do. We did 3 one-hour sessions. She went for the pre-op after the 3rd session. She called me outside of the doctor's office. And she's like, the doctor wants to know what you did. There's no surgery, nothing there. Nothing. Still has her full, all of her female, oh my goodness, body
Was it
parts.
cancer or something else?
It was, I don't remember honestly, it was but they wanted to do a hysterectomy. It was like clogs or something, I don't know, yeah. So, and I have countless stories like this because they're just examples of the divine saying, let's give her what she's meant to give. Let's clear it from the bloodlines, let's get rid of it. You don't need it post-2012. That was a pre-2012 experience. You're done with it. Give her whatever consciousness she's meant to receive, what created it in the first place. Heal and resolve it. And then replace Creator in there. Put me in there where I was not. Simple. To me, as an energy healer, it's simple. The only issue is that most humans won't, I have found they don't want to do what it takes. Like if the doctor says to you, you need 8 times to come back, you need chemotherapy, you need this, you need to be back in my office next Tuesday. Doctor has a license somehow. Well, okay, does officially have a license, but I mean, in his mind, he's given himself consent through his training to tell you, you don't have to spend $10,000 with me. But for me, in my spiritual space, if it feels good and right to you, well then the human's like, well, I don't want to spend another $400. She can't make a guarantee. Never mind that the doctor can't make a guarantee either. But so this is what happens. This is why, and the thing is with most humans, what they think is that healing doesn't work because most humans are imprinted with a belief system that what energy healing is this. There's a big church and a big pulpit and a minister, and up comes the wheelchair, 80-year-old woman in the wheelchair. She sits in the minister, hallelujah! And the wheelchair, hallelujah, I'm healed! That's what people think is supposed to happen. And that's not how it happens. That, to me, is conspiracy. That's a conspiracy.
And the minister's a man.
And the minister. Well, I would suggest to you, Bo, that you might want to clear some gender issues. And we all, I just say this real fast, then let's take a break. Okay, but we have programming. Aside from the program where we can identify it, there's programming we're not aware of. So one of the key programs of humanity is what's called divide and conquer. That is a negative alien implant. Divide and conquer. Republicans, Democrats, whites, blacks, North, South, Korea, United States, patriots, football team, divide and conquer. You see this going on when people are arguing politics. They're really rigged in. It's in the legal system. Divide and conquer. You're really rigged into divide and conquer. And it will put you, debate teams, argument. It'll make you automatically default to argument and debate. You know when you're working with one of those people because you feel exhausted and drained, nothing you say, everything will be met with an argument or a debate or some kind of, they're never satisfied. You give them something great, that's divide and conquer. It needs to be cleared. Another one, okay, this might push some buttons. Crucifixion implants. So crucifixion implant is the story that Jesus was crucified, but really what it is let's just cut humans off from their connection to the earth. Let's stop them from being creators, conscious creators, and let's disconnect them from their source. Crucifixion implant. Every human's carrying it. Slave driver is another one. Every human is carrying it. It's that because we were actually, in a sense, there's a storyline which has truth, that we were created as a slave race. And that's what a lot of those South American abandoned, well, Michael Pellinger's a good teacher of this, if you know who he is. But in any case, a lot of humans were, there's a storyline and there's truth to this, that segments of our human population in history were actually created by star family races to be a slave society, to mine the gold and silver and precious resources from this earth, that they would be taken to other planetary bodies. This is true, from my knowing. Take it under your discernment. So we have that slave driver programming in our unconscious, which is part of what makes us work so hard. So there's these kinds of programs and many more. Aging in our society is normal, right? I mean, if you're shaking your head no because
No, I'm saying yes.
Yeah, okay, but aging is a program. The thing is, it's hooked into other things. I haven't mastered it myself yet, but I know in my conscience I'm constantly working with the divine because it's part of my program to clear out everything that keeps people in separation. Every time I clear something out, I'm bringing that consciousness and I'm able to speak about it consciously to help and serve, support humanity's expansion. So I work on this on the inner planes all the time and with people who will entertain it, because when we do it in collectives, we reach more people energetic, we have more potency energetically. But nonetheless, aging is a program. And it's linked in with other things and other understands. You got beliefs, belief systems, points of view, perspectives. It's all stuff, layers and layers and layers of consciousness based in separation and duality, based in the pre-2012 program experience of what we call third dimension. That all needs to be cleared so we come into this alignment with source. It's all vibration, frequency, energy, patterns, programs, etc. So that's what I'm doing in the healing process, that and like a lot more. I'm accessing information from our star family races, I'm accessing information and energy from divine source, I'm accessing information and energy sometimes from the animal kingdom they step in, accessing information from ascended masters. Of course, Jesus comes, I work with Jesus, I love Jesus, you know, but I don't go to religion, I'm not in any religion, I'm not in any school of religion, but I love Jesus, I love Mary Magdalene, I love Mother Mary, you know, Kwandi, I access a lot of Indian, you know, so you might hear that when we do our healing part, but nonetheless, they're just they're basically translating what needs to be done based on the collective group that's here. Sometimes it's based on our requests, or however I'm guided, you'll hear me. I do a lot of weird things too, like I would never do some of these things, but I know I'm in this state and there's the movements and there's like energy moving and funny sounds and weird flicks of the body, all kinds of stuff because it's such high light frequency. And sometimes it has to clear through something in me in order to do something for you, but because we're all linked and connected, it's doing all that. But this is what's happening when we're clearing all this stuff out, and that's what we'll be doing when we get back after the break.
When you heal an individual, does that retroactive to my ancestors and forward to my
Not
husband?
necessarily, but it's always all connected because everything is all connected.
Yeah.
But not necessarily because of sacred contracts and agreements. And also the other thing I didn't say is I work with the laws. So there's universal laws, and I understand that the laws only work with certain people who have developed certain virtues. And this is part of why I say nobody's ever been nice to me, because I had to learn so many good virtues to get through to these laws. So the first law is always the law of free will. Like when we say the first law, it's kind of like I'm putting this in reference, doesn't make it better or worse. The lowest law. You can't get through or to almost any other laws until you first honor the law of free will. That's why we're never allowed. We're not allowed to impose on someone else's free will. But once you get through all the laws, because they're basically in their own way gateways, at some point you get to the law of one. The law of one is one. It's like, so laws will interblock. You understand? Laws will say, no, you can't do that. There's this person's conscious consent isn't involved. Or the law might say, okay, there's a contract here. No, there's a contract here. This person has to work through that on their own. You can't so there's all kinds of things. But does it affect the collective? Yes! It always does. That's why the work of Lightworkers is real. The reason we haven't had a World War III is because the work of Lightworkers and Starseeds, who people didn't even know, working for 40 years behind the scenes, 20 years, people planting crystals, working, praying, Om Nama, you know, meditators, monks, all of it, it's made a difference. It's why we're here now and we haven't had an Armageddon type scenario. That's another program, by the way. Armageddon implants, right? What is an Armageddon implant? End of game scenario. That's why 2012 they were really pushing on that core trauma, because we have gone through end of games. You know what Atlantis is? Everyone know what Atlantis is? It's a timeline that ended. Done. Game over. Lemuria? Anyone know what Lemuria is? Game over. Armageddon scenario. It's over. Done. This game is no fun. Source can't restore consciousness. Played it, got as dark as I want, don't like it anymore. Done. Sink the civilization. Make it over. So we carry that trauma. And these reptilian overlords know they can push that button, freak the crap out of them. The world's going to end in 2012. Armageddon. Oh my God, everything's going to come to an end. Have you seen stuff on the internet? The world's about to come to an end. They're playing with Armageddon. They don't know. It's not real. We program. It's not the truth. Come into consciousness. Clear the program. That's another one.